Can you guys hear me?
I can definitely hear you.
Adonis, can you hear us?
Yep, I am here.
Okay, great. We're waiting probably just 1 or 2 more minutes. We got some people joining in that we're waiting for. Alex is here and I've invited him to speak, so we should be able to get going in just a minute. Alex, can you accept the invite or try to ask for permission to speak? There we go. Okay, maybe we'll just kick off immediately. The space is being recorded, so people who weren't able to join today can listen in later. It's been quite an interesting day across most industries, I would say, with the financial markets being like they are. But without that letting it affect us, we're hosting our fourth time hosting our Builders Night, and I think this will be a really good one. I'm a big fan of the project that we have here today, but before getting into it, we would like to urge all the people from the different communities to support us all by following both projects here on X. It would really mean a lot, and we're looking forward to growing together. So yeah, I would like to welcome the representatives of Coinweb. So it's me, Anton, the CMO of Coinweb. We got CEO and co-founder Toby Gilbert, and we got Chief Architect Alexander Sheldas. I'd also like to give a very, very warm welcome to our impressive guest from RENOVI. So we got Adonis, who is the CEO and founder, right? Am I correct, Adonis?
I'm one of the co-founders. I've never named myself CEO, neither has Andy, so who knows? I'm just one of the co-founders, man.
Okay, I like that though. But yeah, let me give a quick intro to RENOVI, and you do it a lot better than I do, but I'll try my best. So RENOVI delivers a dynamic, immersive, and AI-targeted in-game advertising solution across both Web2 and Web3 gaming platforms. They're tapping into a growing demand for innovative ad formats in the gaming industry. And I would also like to congratulate you guys at RENOVI for having received a grant from Coinweb Labs. So with that said, maybe we should get into it. Toby, can you give a quick high-level introduction to Coinweb, please?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thank you very much for taking the time to come and to listen to me rattle on for the next few minutes. I'll try and keep this short and sweet. I'll try and explain to you what's a complicated proprietary built system in simple terms, and why it's unique and how it supports projects such as RENOVI that are building on top of us, gives them a unique edge in the market to make sure that they can stay ahead of their competitors and ultimately deliver into their future success. So Coinweb is pretty much the world's first hybrid between a cross-chain rollup and a cross-chain communication system. So the architecture at a 30,000 foot view down is a cross-chain reactive smart contract framework, which is constantly monitoring the events of the underlying L1 chains that we connect to. And today that's Bitcoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum. We have BNB, Polygon, Kujira, Arbitrum, Elrond, and soon we'll have Ton and Base and Solana hooked up as well. So effectively, we're monitoring the events in the blocks of those underlying L1s. And then we have a cross-chain broadcasting system that can embed information down into the blocks of those L1s. And then we can, using the cross-chain reactive smart contract framework, we can react to those events, either that we embed or third-party information that exists in those chains. So that architecture, for those of you that are a bit more technical savvy, throws off a whole load of products, which is live, full DevNet up and running, and APIs, SDKs that are enabling projects to connect to us. So you can come along, issue an L2 token from our layer, and you can choose which chain that's embedded down into. Then you can monitor the performance of those underlying chains, predominantly around gas fee spikes, outages, and network speed times, failures. And then you can route the transactions as per the KPIs of the underlying chains between different chains and ultimately deliver a continuity of service to an end customer. So if you're a project today and you just build on top of Solana and Solana has an outage, of which they had many last year and this year, then all your on-chain transactions stop working. With us, you could see that Solana had an outage, automatically routed across the BNB, and then the DApp would still continue to work for the customers that are on it. So that's one core use case. We act as a cross-chain rollup, so you can effectively bundle transactions and write them down into the blocks of the underlying chain, making them considerably cheaper. We can offer discount saving between 70 and 80% on gas fees on Ethereum alone. In addition to all of this, we have a lot of support around helping build wallets for projects on top of this. Our sister company does fiat on and off ramping as well. So all the kind of commercial use cases that dApps require, we help support them within all of that space at the same time. Gas fee abstraction is another super important one. This whole idea that you build on top of Polygon by way of example, and your users need to hold a balance of Matic and the token issued from Polygon is absolutely fine if it's a Web3 native project that you only have a Web3 native user base. But ultimately, if you're going after a traditional user base and trying to convert them into Web3, they don't understand that they need to hold the balance of two tokens. So with our platform, projects building on top of us, the end user only needs to hold a balance of the token issued from the L2. They do not need to hold a balance of the underlying tokens for the L1s that those transactions are being written down into. Coinweb takes care of all of that. So this is all of these subtleties that may seem like small things to everybody that's on this call. These are absolutely essential for a dApp that's trying to gain traction in the future. This, as well as all the data availability via the rollup aspect, by compressing the information that we're writing down into the underlying chains, means that as the dApp grows, we can support those dApps as they move forward at the right price point for their users, and we're not saturating the chains should the dApp be a high throughput application. So ultimately, what we're doing is really allowing projects to move freely between different blockchains. As new blockchains get added on and we connect them, you can take advantage of those new chains and their functionality. So you're not stuck on one particular chain that may be going out of fashion, and then all of a sudden your competitor's launching on a new chain that's faster or cheaper, for example, and then you're completely stuck and you've lost your competitive edge. We effectively unshackle the projects that are building on top of us, allowing them to not only de-risk building on one particular chain, but take advantage of new chains as they get launched, and we connect to them, allowing access for projects building on top of us to those chains. So this is really unique in the space today. And we have now 36 projects that are building on top of us, and a whole pipeline of others that are signing up to do so, that we're just beginning to let the market know about at this moment in time after years in development. And RENOVI is one of them, and we look forward to holding their hand, helping them all the way along the line in the build, and then anything and everything else that's necessary to make RENOVI a success, which then in part contributes towards our success. This isn't a case we hear so much of the time about, once again, Polygon and Arbitrum as well. When people are building on top of them, they receive a grant, and then they're given some SDKs to go and build, and then they can't ever get in touch with the developer team again. We're far more boutique, we're far more niche. We literally hold the hands of quality projects as they build. We get them to the market, we support them as they grow, and that's what the next one year to 18 months is going to be about. It's getting these projects live, making sure they have that right level of support, making sure they are going to be a success, and supporting them all the way through to that point and beyond.
Great. Yeah, thank you for the introduction, Toby. Adonis, could you give an introduction to RENOVI?
Sure. First of all, thank you very much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Um, by the way, you gave such a good introduction of RENOVI. I'm just simply gonna repeat what you said because it was really spot on. RENOVI is an AI-driven, immersive in-game advertising platform. Our goal is to help both Web2 but also Web3 games monetize themselves. And we're trying to do that in a way that is not alienating or disturbing to the gamers. Being gamers ourselves, so at least most of the team, I would say, we know what it means to have an advertisement pop up every now and again in order to persuade you to purchase something else while you're having an amazing gaming experience. And the idea is, how can we change it? How can we add to the realism of the game? And we believe that immersive ads and the various formats of immersive ads is one way of doing it. And we're just starting with Web3 games because of our background, and we're bringing it forward to Web3, but also Web2 games.
Amazing. I'm honestly quite excited personally about this product. I guess it's because I used to be a gamer, so I really see the benefits of it, and how users can perceive it. Having ads in the games, I don't think anyone would ever be annoyed by it, and it's a great idea just in general. But yes, what inspired you to basically set this up? Like getting into advertisements in games?
So it's an easy one actually. What happened was, 2.5 years ago, we started as a game studio partly, and as an NFT marketplace partly. And the idea was to start building up the metaverse and bringing as many brands as possible into the metaverse platforms that are like Decentraland and Sandbox and so on. What we realized was, we were an okay gaming studio, we were an okay platform, but all of it together made who we are, and we were better with what we were able to do. So what happened was, we were able to build amazing activations for brands like General Motors, DKNY, Diageo, Charles and Keith, the Telegraph, and so on, Intercontinental Hotels. And we realized we had a knack for actually being able to speak to all these brands, understand what they all wanted, which technically was to reach a new audience, and that audience was the gaming audience, not necessarily the metaverse audience. And then we just realized that, what we wanted to do was offer this as a service and offer this to a much greater audience, rather than just a few selected games, and on a more bespoke basis. So we set up to build Renovi, we took the parts that we understand them that we understood the most, which was how to build a platform, how to be able to connect with brands and even programmatic networks now, and how to bring those advertisements within games in a way that, as I said before, doesn't affect the gameplay. So it took the best parts of what was an amazing learning experience, and we brought them here to, well, dare I say, Renovi 2.0. Well, no, not even Renovi 3.0. So we had a lot of, changes. We needed to do a lot of understanding. But then we have Renovi 3.0, which is now, which is immersive ads. And that's how it came to be.
Okay, okay, very very inspiring background. Uh, Really cool. But what does the user journey look like if you're looking at both players as well as B2B partners actually?
Yeah, really good question. So let me start with the B2B. And well, let me start with the players. With the players, it should be quite simple, right? For the players, it should be, they shouldn't even recognize that another company or like ours is working with the game. That means we have achieved a seamless integration, and Renovi is simply behind the scenes, and everything is happening as it should be. And that's our very own goal. So, what you should be able to see is a brand and the connection between the brand and the game. So, that's ultimately where we want to be. Now, there's going to be aspects of Renovi that are client based or forward facing, and that's part of the token and how it's going to interact within the advertisements as a reward mechanism. And that's why we're working with you guys, and obviously that's why we're working with guilds to bring that forward. But ultimately, other than the Renovi token and how it can help gamers, then you
Yeah.
shouldn't see Renovi anywhere. Now, where it comes to the B2B side of things, it should be a simple, we can divide that into two categories. If you're a game studio, it should be a simple SDK integration, either Unity and in the future Unreal Engine and Web SDKs. You drag and drop the SDK, and then in a matter of half an hour to a day, you should be able to um, connect the advertisements, and start generating revenue. That's the goal, and we're actually really close to that. Even from now, we're able to connect within games within matters of half an hour to a day, depending on how complex the game might be.
Wow.
Now, when it comes to advertisers, depending on the type of advertisers, if they're programmatic networks, it's a bit more involved. I'm not gonna bore you with the technical details, but that means there's a sort of bidding mechanism which gets the best price, and then the best advertisement is being shown to the gamers. And then if they're direct advertisers, we just have the discussions openly with the brands and so on, where they would like to show their advertisements, what is their target audience, and so on. Once you have all that information, then we get the ad creatives from them and we push them to the correct games. It's quite a simple process. I've made it, it's just
Uh,
how I usually do. I made it sound a bit more complicated than what it is, but it's
I
just a lot
it
of
sounds
fun discussions.
no,
Mhm.
it sounds very very like well structured in a sense, and like one thing that we put a lot of emphasis on at Coinweb as well is that like on a user level, it should just be in the background. They don't necessarily shouldn't even know that they're dealing with us, because otherwise, we're not really achieving the UX that we all hope that crypto will get one day, so that we can onboard all the users, or actually all the users onboarding us. That's probably the best way to put it. If we're going to get mass adoption and those sort of things. But a quick question: do you have any competitors today? And if so, what separates you guys from the competition? Like, what are your USPs?
Awesome question. So, when it comes to the Web3 side of things, for now, I don't see any direct competition uh, into water building. If we look at the bigger sector of gaming in the Web2 space, Of course, there's some competitors. One
Yeah.
noteworthy is actually Anzu. I will say we're an up and coming brand, so we're learning quite a lot from you know existing brands like Anzu. But that's where we have you know a unique proposition into the mix, where we add the unique proposition into the mix in order to differentiate ourselves from what they're building, which is, by the way, a great brand. What I will say here is our USP is that we're targeting first Web3 games. We're doing that because we understand that Web3 games want to establish themselves, and usually they have two avenues of generating revenue. Um, Web3 revenue, I will say. One is usually printing tokens, and the other one is printing NFTs. We want to say that, hey, if you're a Web3 game, maybe there's another avenue through us. Let us help you monetize your game because we're Web3 friendly and we don't have any issues with working with you. That's number one. Number two, where we're bringing into the mix Web3 metrics, and we're doing Web3 targeting as well, which means that the information that you have when it comes to the wallets and wallet analytics, we're able to leverage that and do better targeting with advertisements. So we're able to read your wallet from a variety of chains that are out there, and we're able to tell you maybe what you're holding, or maybe what games you have logged in, or if you're a bot, or if you're a new or no wallets. It's not necessarily because we want to invade your privacy, but we want to actually offer you the best advertisements without ever knowing who you are. So we're actually adding to your privacy, but we do understand, the way you play games, or what games you might be playing, and then we do better targeting, so the advertisement that you're gonna see is of interest to you.
Yeah.
Now, you will be able to do that to a certain extent with Web2 games as well, but obviously, then you're going into information that might be personal to the user, and we want to be mindful of that. So that's why we are starting with Web3 games first, and we're bringing the power of Web3 and Web3 analytics into this. Finally, what we're researching as well is AI driven advertisements. We're looking into how we can dynamically change advertisements according to the outcome of the day of the game, and according to who you might be. So if you gave us a user tag that is such and such, then we can use the user tag, we can use information from the game and change the advertisement on the fly, so you see an advertisement that is relevant to you. Maybe you're playing Call of Duty, for example, because a lot of people know Call of Duty, and your team is winning. It could be, congratulations, red team, here's a Coca-Cola on us. And then that advertisement was dynamically generated in order to match the audience and how it's performing.
Yeah, it's solid, rock solid. I do you guys, Toby, or do you have any questions or anything you'd like to say here before we move on to the next questions?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tony, I always hear, oh, this seems really, really simple, but I think as a business model that you set out, what you're now offering and what you're achieving, but it's very important for everybody on this call to understand what seems very simple, the mechanics and the architecture of what goes into something to make something simple is really, really complex and complicated a lot of the time. And to be able to get that actually to the point where you move from a conceptual stage to where it's working and it can support a number of games that are launching on something that seems simple, that's a hell of a lot of work that goes into something like that to be able to deliver it and achieve it, and then to scale it afterwards. So really hats off to you guys. And this is something I touched upon earlier when I said, we really delve in deep to the projects they're building on top of us, because if we're going to support them, we have to know that they're capable of delivering stuff like this. And this is why Renovi is really quite unique in this regard. It's like having an iPhone. Most people on this call have an iPhone in their hand, and an iPhone it's very relatively simple to use. I have an 8-year-old daughter. She's probably better at navigating my iPhone than I am, so she can do it. It's simple, but the mechanics of what's behind the hood or under the hood is far more complex. So really, this is just a massive congratulations to be able to get to this stage where this actually works. It is scalable. It is simple to use, so people can get their heads around it. That's a big feat to be able to deliver what you guys have delivered.
Couldn't agree more.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna add to this and actually speak about you guys, um, and how you tie into this and why it's really important, right? So I seriously believe in this notion that make it stupid simple, right? Sorry for for the phrase, but make it as simple as possible or make it work as simply as possible. So what we're planning to do or what we envision on doing is we want to reward gamers for watching the ads even if they're not in your face. Just because you're playing a game and you have watched our ads whether you wanted it or not, then we want to be able to reward you with both with not only our token but also any brand's token that they might have or any of the game's tokens. And not only that, we want to be able to do that on any chain that the game might be running on. Obviously, that's a huge undertaking, but at the end of the day, it's you take that undertaking because you want to simplify what's happening at the gamer level, right? So when the gamer logs in into the central hub from one of the guilds in order to receive some of the rewards, then they should be able to log in with whatever wallet they might want to, on whatever chain they might want to, and receive the tokens that they might have earned from their chain of their preference, right? So I'm not gonna even go into the technology side of things in order to make this happen. Probably I'm not even able to. My CTO should be able to answer that. But the idea is if you make it simple enough and then the gamer can simply reap the rewards and we can provide that as easily as possible, then that's the dream and that's the goal that we're striving towards too.
Amazing. And
Well, we just a brief one. We really look forward to helping you guys enable that. And we've got another last important point. And what we do is a lot of cross pollination between the projects that are launching on top of us. And I won't go into a huge amount of detail because I can't, but we're just about to make a massive announcement about a cross chain DEX effectively that can then be integrated directly within the projects that can enable the gaming tokens to be swapped for major pairs then and there without any off-chain infrastructure at a fraction of the cost of going through what the few dexes are that do handle this are, or going through a sex and having to deal with all the KYC. So there's a lot of cross-pollination positions that we're going to be pushing out, and that's part of our strategy in supporting the projects that are building on top of us at the same time.
yeah, and also outside of that, there's obviously also quite a few games that have signed up that are building on top of Coinweb. So looking forward putting you guys in touch with them as well. But Adonis, Toby talked a little bit earlier about making things seamless and like how it's easy to say that we're building this and it's seamless, but like building it is normally quite hard, especially if you want it seamless. But can you explain a bit about the concept of seamless ad integration on both Web 2 and Web 3 platforms and why you think it's crucial for the user experience?
Absolutely. So, look, in my opinion, and what I mean by seamless when I discuss this is, well, let me backtrack this. I'm not a huge gamer when it comes to your standard consoles. I have an Xbox. I use it, but not to the level of a power user and so on. I used PlayStation before. I played a lot of games on my PC, but what I always like when I play my uh, my games on the consoles versus when I play on my mobile, which I'm a bigger mobile gamer, is that everything looks like it's part of the game, it's seamless, you have a really amazing user experience. Now what usually happens when you have video games on your or games on your phone is you start playing the game and then an advertisement pops up. It looks like it's part of something different. The X is misleading. You press it to turn it off, then it takes you somewhere else, and then it takes you somewhere else, and then you try to play this mini game in between your actual game. It creates this you lose that immersion, that seamless gameplay, and that what usually bothers me. So that's what we're trying to, well, that's part of what we're trying to by saying we want to have seamless advertisements, because all the thinking and all the integration happens uh, at the coding level of the game, or when they're open Unity or Unreal Engine. It all happens over there, and the game decides where they would like to have the advertisements within the gameplay, and they spend the time to place them correctly so they look like they're part of the gaming experience. That's what I mean by a seamless integration. That's number one, because they can look at the advertisements and they seem like they're part of the game rather than some afterthought that came afterwards, right? That's number one. Number two, when we mean seamless, for me, it means that we have a platform where you can upload, if you're a direct advertiser, all your brand visuals, and then we can automatically push them into the game without having to manually try to do that, in every episode of the game. So then our advertisements are not only seamless, but they also become smart because we're able to track, metrics like where is the gamer looking at, how long they've looked at it, what is the dwell time, location, and so on. So you have that seamless ads placement over there. And then, of course, what goes to you guys as well is that seamless ability to be able to reap the rewards without ever having to wonder on what chain it might have happened and so on. And that is something we take on board, where you could say, yeah, but the game could take the rewards on board and they could do it on their chain. Fair enough. There's a lot of Web3 games out there. Most of them rely on usually on one chain. What the idea is to offer another layer that you don't even need to see. Uh, but if you belong to part of a guild, then you're gonna be able to see it, and you're gonna say, "Yes, I play this game and this game." So they've had advertisements, so I can reap the rewards from them. I log in into the hub from that guild, and then whatever chain those games might be, I'm able to get the rewards back. And having the new information that we have right now, then I'm able to change those rewards in the decks into whatever coin I'm more comfortable with. So that's what I mean by seamless.
It's funny. My next question was actually going to be how important you think interoperability is for Renovi, but I think you covered that pretty well. So that's
Thank you.
yeah. Alex, you've been on the call for quite some time now, but you haven't said anything. Do you have any comments or any praises you wanna say to Renovi?
Yeah, no, I'm just listening, and I think it's a super interesting project. I wonder if there's an angle somewhere for the being able to take payments on because that it's not, I'm not sure if it's an angle, but it's one of those things that people also look to Coinweb to have the ability to deal with this Bitcoin. Let's say you're taking payment for something. Is there any kind of taking payments for stuff or paying for stuff in the advertising place in your system?
Sure. This is part of the longer vision of what we're building. as I said before, and as everybody can understand, we're Web3 friendly. So we are aware, although there are smaller percentages, that there's agencies that are interested in Web3 and they operate within the Web3 space, advertising agencies, and obviously have the games that operate in the Web3 space. The idea is when we are ready to do this is to be able to accept payments for our services in crypto. Why not in Bitcoin or Ethereum or in stable coins, or if the game reaches a certain level, or if the text is so efficient that we're able to get pay in any other token that is out there. So we're actively looking that to receive payments in that way, but also be able to make payments to games quicker by being able to make payments in crypto, because obviously if you make the payments out in fiat to the game, then you're looking at a monthly time frame. But if you start making payments in crypto, and then you have the trail of what's happening all on the blockchain, then you can speed up the process, and it could be every week or every day, depending on the volume that they're reaching and so on. So payments in crypto, being able to accept but also making payments, is within what we're actively looking at. And yeah, absolutely.
Alex?
And
Yeah.
regarding the token, so what are the maybe Antonio,
No, 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 go ahead. Go ahead.
you asked about the token, but uh, a lot of what blockchains are used for is for this or DeFi is its composability that you can build things on top, or you can use you can represent, for example, an ad view as a token and then do something about it. That you can, yeah, you can exchange it for something. Maybe you can collect it, you can stake it to prove that you have seen a bunch of ads, which proves that you have, which again proves engagement in the game through ad views. And there might be other kind of side services that you can add on to the ad views if you when you attach them to the blockchain so that they are not spoofable in that sense.
I get
Um,
what you mean. Sorry to interrupt. Sorry, if you have something else to add, please add. But I do have
no,
a point on
I'm
this
just
too.
thinking
Mhm.
how you think about the intersection between kind of composability of the blockchain and token attached to ads. If you have thoughts on that.
Hmm. So, what we have thought up to now, and we're still playing with the idea, is, and it's not exactly what you're saying. We didn't go as far as what you're saying, but what we're thinking is, um, we are getting, and I'm gonna call it first party data, but because our SDK is within the game, I will say that we're getting a lot of first party data. Usually, what happens is with a lot of games that are busy building themselves or not proper information, we're not able to see information clearly about games, like how many gamers they might have, or how many impressions they might have generated, or how many ads were requested or delivered, or the viewability of those ads, because just because you delivered an ad, that doesn't mean that it has been seen and so on. So we are actively toying with the idea of what of all of that information which you're able to actually capture, we are able to put on the blockchain in order to create a more transparent, gaming space. Of course, there's this fine line between what information we can actually release and what information we should release and so on. So we're still playing with that idea, but it would be really cool, at least as a gamer or as somebody who's interested in games, and somebody that honestly believes that a lot of times, some might overstate numbers or some might even understate numbers. I would love to see a more transparent space. So we are actively toying with the idea of, okay, can we put that data onto the chain and make it available for everyone to see, so they know and they feel more comfortable as to how the games are performing and so on.
Mm.
Yeah, I guess it could also be between games. Like if I know if I'm a game developer, I want to approach a certain group of people um, as part of giving them like the bored apes. They get privileges in certain areas because they're holding this NFT, and then if if you've seen a bunch of ads that could maybe correlate to being that kind of gamer that then is attractive to when launching other games and things like that. I mean, a lot of secondary things that are unrelated to um, the showing of ads, but is could be interesting to put on top for completely other reasons, for other reasons, for other as long as it is on the blockchain and it's kind of captured and that you can prove that I was in this game. I was I was exploring this area of the game because I saw all these ads and that might have value in other in other games. This
Absolutely. I mean, what you're saying is, if you, especially if we work together with guilds, you could have some sort of other metrics that you could say that, hey, here's an example of a gamer with a who played an X amount of games and they've seen an X amount of ads and they've spent so much time playing games and so on. That's all important information for various reasons. Maybe it's for vanity metrics within guilds, or maybe it's for targeting purposes when it comes to advertisers, or or maybe it's to promote that, our guild, our gamers within the guild play an X amount of time, and then they bring this value to this game, and then you have other positive, outcomes that come indirectly from what they're doing and the information or simply putting it out there live. So yeah, I fully get what you mean. So it's just um, once the main product is finished, although it's never gonna be finished, there's always, you know how it goes. But once the main idea is finished, then we have the ability to go on some tangents and explore some other really interesting projects with what information we can bring back to the blockchain.
yeah sounds interesting.
Yes, yes. But Adonis, what does your roadmap look like? Can you get into to the roadmap a little bit and just explain what you guys are or what we can expect is basically happening in the future?
Sure. So what I would say for our roadmap is we are currently live in our beta version. So right now we're welcoming as many games as possible to work with us, and test them and validate them and so on. That's what we are doing right now. At the same time, we're currently connected to one programmatic network, bringing another one into the mix really, really shortly. So at some point, I envision we're gonna have more advertisements that we can actually than games. So what that means is to have a lot of supply and a lot of games to monetize, but that's what's happening right now. What we envision to be doing in the next couple of months is, number one, working on our business development to bring more and more games, working on our chain integrations and actually bringing this token out together with the ability to be rewarded on multiple chains for various reasons. And then what we're moving into building is obviously the AI features that it really wants, a refinement on the information that is coming out on the platform in order to offer as much value as possible to both the game studios and the agencies. And of course, as we said, there's this Unity and Web SDK that we need to bring into the mix. So in order to capture, I would say, what, 90% of the games that are out there. So that will keep us seriously busy up to Christmas and beyond, for sure. Um, yeah, and that's the immediate roadmap.
Great, great. And what about TG? When are you looking to do one? When are you looking to do one? Is that something
So
you detail
I,
about?
I, I, love I love that we're saying this with these market conditions today, which we hit just what 50K Bitcoin at some point. But yeah, look, it comes and goes, right? Up and downs. What are saying with regards to our TGE, depending on market conditions, always. I need to have that in there. I would love to see us listing end of Q3, beginning of Q4, always depending on market conditions. We want to have the token out there for everyone to reap their rewards, obviously. And at the same time, we do have a lot of games that we're working with and a lot of partnerships that we're announcing. And we want those partnerships to have an extra benefits for our audience, which is going to happen through the token. So, as I said, depending on market conditions, end of Q3, beginning of Q4.
Makes sense, and it's definitely not something that the one perhaps should have a super fixed date on. It's good to give
Mm-hmm.
an estimated timeline because, as you said, like people who launch a token today, it can be quite a tough launch, so to say. So nice, but with that, I think we're getting close to basically reaching the 1 hour mark. What we do have time for is to pick questions from the community. So I would suggest that what people can do is basically go into the original AMA tweet. We did do a quote retweet today of the original announcement of this AMA space. But those of you who wants to get a chance at receiving a reward, please go to the AMA on Monday tweet and write your questions there, and then we will pick them up in a few minutes. I do know that we have quite a few questions there already, but for those of you who would like to ask us something, please write the questions there now. Can you guys? I can't get the chat function up here on the space. Can you guys share the link to that tweet as well? I'll put it into our community and also into the group chat that we have with you, Adonis. So let me do that. Let me do RENOVI. There we go. But maybe we should, we can probably start. We can probably start actually. Adonis, are you ready to take some of these questions from the community if I find some really good ones?
Sure. Do you want me to go one by one, or do you want me to just? Mhm.
What we can do is we can pick probably 3 each.
Absolutely.
And then we can, it's probably a good idea to save them into our, save the questions as well.
Absolutely. Of course. I mean, we need to pick one from Chuck or Tolga or Mia because obviously they've asked from 3 questions each.
For sure, for sure, for sure. But yeah, do you want me to pick the first one?
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
Okay, let me find a really good one here. So, that's okay. Okay, this is actually a really good one. Does Renovi segment target audiences for in-game advertisements? What data and analytics tools are used to ensure that ads are relevant to the specific demographics or psychographics of the players?
Sure, that's actually is a really good one.
Yeah.
So we segregate our data into Web 2 and also Web 3 data. When it comes to Web 2 data, we're able to look into how long has the gamer played the game, how long that has the player dwelled over an advertisement, where were they looking at, if they were not moving, so technically not in the game, or if they were actually moving, so we're able to alleviate any issues with somebody trying to create more impressions than what they actually should, and so on. So you get all that information together with you where you're based as a gamer. So all that information, and probably I'm oversimplifying what information we're getting all from here, is mixed with Web3 information. When it comes to Web3 information, we find data as to what wallet you're using, how often you use that wallet, if it's an active or a dormant wallet, or if it was, what NFTs it might be holding in, or tokens. And why are we doing this? Because we want to offer the best advertisements that are out there for you. So what that means is we're technically actively building a profile of gamers from each game. So we segregate the gamers according to what games they might be playing, which might be first person shooter or RPG or whatever. And then we get data from what is out there available, like what kind of gamer profiles there are. And then we mix it together with profile data like what we're actively getting from the game, or how you might perform from the game. We mix it all together and we build a profile of gamers. We segregate them and then give that to the agencies in order to target them as best as possible. So it has nothing to do with who you are individually as a person. So
Mm.
I'm not gonna know that it's Anton playing this video game, because obviously that's private information. But we might know that user X plays this video game during these times, and they're more likely to be interested in software advertisements. So why not show them software advertisements? This is what they like, and that's how we do our segmentation and targeting.
Makes absolutely sense. And especially that you keep some level of integrity as well when doing it. Next question. I think this one is probably suitable for us at Coinweb, but it also relates to you guys. But maybe I answer it first, and then you can answer as well, Adonis.
Sure.
So Paracetamol asked, after Ethereum, Binance, and Polygon network, any plans to expand to other blockchains in future development once you're considering for Tom 2? And to give people an idea of Coinweb here, so Coinweb does support Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Litecoin, Binance Chain, Polygon, Multiverse X, Kujira, Doge, as well as Arbitrum. And then we do have a roadmap of other chains to connect to as well, which Toby mentioned earlier, includes both Ton, we got Solana, we got Base, that are basically going to be the next one that we connect to. With that said, what are you guys looking for in general? What chains will be crucial for you guys at Renovi?
So for us is, let's put it this way: we love all chains. It doesn't matter what chain it might be. The idea is, if a chain has a game, we would like to be there to serve it. So, but we need to find the most um, easy way, or the most seamless way, since we're using that word, in being able on every chain that is out there. And the best way to do it is probably through Coinweb. And that's why we're with you guys, in the sense that yes, we want to serve as many chains as possible. If one of the ways to serve as many chains possible is through Coinweb, we should do it, because the idea is to be able to serve both the games, the gamers, and the advertising agencies. And if we limit ourselves to just one chain, then we're shooting ourselves in the foot, and we're not being the best advertising platform in the Web3 space.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. I actually found a really good third question. So, do you want to take some three questions after this, or do you want me to continue firing them?
Oh, please continue firing them, because you're doing an excellent job, and I'm like, yep, bring them on.
Okay, because this one I really liked as well. So it's MIA or Mia who asked, some games have certain limits to the geographical regions that can play their games. Does RENOVI Hub have any geographical based advertisement as well?
Good one. So the short answer is no. So what we're trying to do is be as global as possible. It's the same mentality as we have with chains. The idea is to be as global as possible. The games that we're working with, we know that they have geographical or limitations or restrictions, or simply the audience happen to be, I don't know, in LATAM instead of Southeast Asia, and then you have another game that is in Southeast Asia instead of Europe, and so on. So, well, that's why we're working with more than one programmatic networks. We're trying to cover the whole of the globe and be available everywhere. And then that's why we're working with any game that is out there. And dare I say, no matter how small, because we want to be able to generate revenue for everyone.
Okay, and actually, when you finished your answer with that last sentence, I actually have another question from Magnus here. How does, and which relates to your last sentence. So, how
Mhm.
does Renovi generate revenue? Is it based on a cost per thousands impressions, or cost per click, or other models?
Really, really good question. So, cost per thousand impressions, that would be CPM, cost per click, CPC, and so on. So, yes, that's how it work. We try to be really, really competitive when it comes to our price point. I wouldn't reveal any information on that right now, but what I would say is we took a general view of the costs for advertisements that is out there, and we are massively cheaper than a lot of the options that are out there, at least in the Web2 space. In the Web3 space, there's no direct competition at the moment. And the idea is to be able to allow for even smaller businesses to be able to advertise, because obviously we can go as local or as global as you want it to go. At the same time, with the advertisements that we have right now work on a CPM basis because they're impression based.
Mhm.
But with some of the games that are out there that you're able to click on the advertisements without always ruining the gaming experience, then we are able to go on a CPC basis, CPA basis, and so on.
Okay. Okay. Good. And that also relates into the fifth question, actually, which might be almost a little bit too similar, but I think there's at the end of it, it makes it more separated from what you just answered. So, how does Renovi determine the pricing for its advertising services? Are these different pricing tiers based on ad formats, targeting options, or campaign budgets?
Good point. So, one way we are first of all, let me start with this. We aim to make our price dynamic. So what that means is it can actively change between games, between geographical locations, but also between demand from advertisers. So we take all of that into account, and because we are connected to programmatic advertisers, it means with more demand for from either advertisers or from games for a specific location, then the price can actively change in order to allow for the best price to win. And of course, this is in the benefit of the game, so they're able to generate as much revenue as possible. But of course, this works with the basic supply and demand, right? So if there's demand for something, then the price will go up. But with more and more games that we are able to provide, then we will be able to offer a nice lower price because there's enough supply for the advertisements to go through.
Sorry, I was on mute there. But okay, well noted. And then the last question, which is a short question, but I think it's a very good one. It's quite an important question to ask. How does Renovi assist game developers in integrating their ad platform without compromising game performance or user experience?
Really good point. So what I will say on this is we aim to make our SDK as small and lightweight as possible in order to make it seriously easy to be onboarded onto a game. Then we're adding features like the ability to have cache. So that means memory. So what do you mean by that? To be able to preload advertisements so you don't have to uh, serve the advertisements from the server all the time. So that means there's less demand for bandwidth, more likely to show the advertisement and not show an error, and so on when you don't have enough of bandwidth and so on. And what I will say is we are so white glove service that we even work with games and we even install our SDK within the game. So our team was working hand in hand with the game in order to install the SDK and make sure that there was no issues out there. We're not in the business of just giving you our SDK and just letting you do everything on your own and never caring for you. That's not what we're here for. We try to offer the best service possible, and my developers are the testament to that because if they're not working with me, we're working pretty much on some other game, trying to help them fix bugs. We even fix bugs on games when they weren't related to advertisements, just because we wanted to see games succeed, and that's how we're gonna do it moving forwards as well.
Okay, okay, great. Well, with that, I mean, thank you so much for taking this time sitting here with us today. I really hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. To all of you guys who are on this call with us now, Toby, Alexander, and Adonis, do you have any last things you want to say before we close this call down?
Yeah, I look forward to getting this live and seeing you guys getting a lot of traffic going on, and a whole load of games being built on top of your platform, and us enabling that whole model. I think it's going to be an exceptionally exciting, 6 to 12 months with us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
let's get it
Definitely.
going.
Absolutely. I cannot wait.
Thanks,
Oh,
guys. Catch you soon.
Thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
likewise, likewise. Have a great evening and or afternoon or morning wherever you guys are.